Hello there. My name is Iron Star and I welcome you to Temmora Hero Suite. So you might be wondering, what is Temmora Hero Suite? Well, Temmora Hero Suite is a modular system designed for founders, designers, and developers who want flexible, beautiful hero layouts. And in this video, I'm going to walk you through every feature and show you exactly how to customize the templates for your projects. Let's get into it. Now, there are four basic changes I know every founder, designer, and developer to make whenever they get a template: the logo, the text, the color, and the images. Now, let's get started with the logo first. To simply edit the logo, you either double click from the nav, which will lead you to the logo components, the nav components. Then you double click and enter into the logo, or you simply head over to the assets panel and you'll see the components named full logo. That will lead you to the logo. Then you can simply edit the texts like I'm doing here by double clicking, or you can simply scroll down. On your right panel, you see context and you can input your logo text there and also select your logo font. Now, to simply upload the logo icon, you select it, and below at your right panel you see a small upload button there. You select it, select your logo, and voila, you have your logo. You can also adjust the sizing, but I'm going to stick with 30 pixels for my sizing. Now let me just simply select my nice white logo back again. Okay, now for the text. Well, editing the text is very simple. Simply double click and input your text. Header text. Yeah. And the best thing about this is that it updates all through the screen, so your tablet and mobile view, you get to see what it looks like. Another way is to also head to your right panel and you see the contents option there. You simply select it and input your header text, though most of you will probably prefer the first one. Now next is the image. For these templates, I have a dark and light mode image that I want to preview on separate themes. So for that, I created a component, an image switch component, created with ChatGPT. So the purpose of this component is to enable auto image switch depending on the default user theme. So to simply use this, if you have two separate images for light and dark, simply click to upload your light image and click to upload your dark image. And once the user switches to light or dark, the image will also switch. Now, I also did the same for the small image. Now, once I switch to light mode, you can see that the image also changes to my light mode dashboard image. Another way to access it is through the assets panel. But now let's focus on the color. I have 5 separate colors I created for this template: the background, brand, surface, and text. The background, I created a light mode version and a dark mode version for the background images. You can of course use one version by simply inputting a 2 color codes for both. For my brand color, I have just one color for both light and dark. My surface color, which is any other content aside the background, and then my text color. My text color is obviously white for the dark mode and black for the light mode, as you can see here. So on light mode, the base text will be black. On dark mode, the base text will be white. Now that's it for the 4 basic details every designer and founder does on their templates. Any other thing coming up from this video, there will be extra additional details which you can make on these templates. Now let's start with the nav bar. There are other things you can change on the nav bar. Like for example, here I have two separate nav bar variants. I have one for the nav bar on default when there's no scrolling, and one for when the nav bar is scrolled. Like I will be showing you using the mobile screen here. As you can see, this blurred background is for my scrolled nav bar, so don't let it confuse you. Now I also have another variant, which is actually the second nav bar variant. That's the main second nav bar variant, which is something I see a lot on SaaS websites. Now to edit the nav links or the menu items, you simply select it, scroll down to your right panel and edit in the text that you want for them. You can also choose to make it a drop down by simply toggling the drop down yes or no, and you can link it to any page on your site. I linked mine to the page 2 of this template. So next we have the search. So I created two types of search here. I created the long search and the short search. So when you hover, it actually expands the long search, as you can see here. But the click effect keyword, so when you click on it, you can still search, but it's just that it expands before you can click on it. Of course, if you want to remove this, it's entirely possible. As you can see on the site, this is how it actually works. But I'm sure many of you probably won't want this feature, so what you simply have to do to remove it is select it and you can toggle up the visibility. Okay, now for the button, you simply select the button and you scroll down on the right hand panel to edit the button text. I have the brand color selected for my primary button color, which is the default color for both light and dark mode. As you can see, on light and dark mode it remains purple for my primary color, which is the main brand color. Now for the localization, this feature, let me just show you how it works. This feature is basically like a language switcher for your websites. Over here I have English and Spanish selected. Let me show you how it works on an actual site. Let me prototype this, and you simply select the drop down and select the language that you want. So this is my site using Spanish language. Let me select back English and it's back to English. So to add more languages, you simply head over to your right top panel and you select the little globe icon right there. You select the add button under locals and search for the language you want to add. Let me say Japanese, and I clicked add it. Now Framer has this feature that allows you to automatically change your text to your preferred languages using AI. You simply click on this button here and it changes to your language. But let me just delete that space. I have no use for the Japanese language, and since I'm using a free account, I can only add one local. So for the navbar, I believe what's left is to show you the different navbar variants that I created for the navbar. So this is variant 2 for the navbar. This is variant 2. It's using the content surface color. So that's the second color I showed you after the background. So this is it. You can see how close it is to the background, but it has less contrast than the actual background color. Let me switch it back nav 1 and then Okay, so next is the background. The background, I created 6 background components for the 6 hero sections. So each hero section has its own separate background. I have my grid background, which is the background I use for my hero section 2, but you can easily switch it to any hero section you want, like I did for the hero section 1. And you can see this nice, lovely, interactive over effects. Next is the chord ray light effects, which I used for hero 3. The gradient blinds I used for the timer 1, and the dots background I used for the timer 2. So I also have some of them on light mode. So for the hero 1 background, I noticed that it didn't actually look good on light mode because I'm creating a light and dark mode for this template. Since I have a light and dark mode, I obviously need a background that matches each mode. So I simply edited some of the colors on the light mode and I came up with a component for the light mode for each hero section. So as you can see here, this light mode goes very nicely with our hero 1. As you can see, that's very lovely. So finally, we are going to be editing the timer component, which is the last component I personally created for this template, right after the image switch component. So the timer component is a pretty easy component to use. So scrolling down, you're going to see a lot of options to edit your timer component, but don't let it intimidate you. There's really nothing much to actually do here. So you simply start with the timer components. You select your starts and end dates. Then over here you have toggle options. Which toggle on and off the days, the hours, the minutes, and the seconds. So you can see that I can toggle on and off each branch of the timing. Then if you notice on my mobile section, you see that the timer is a bit compressed into a grid. Now that is the second option I created for the timer between row and grid. So once I select this and simply hit the drop down and select grid, you see that the timer components has been changed to a grid. And now I'm going to select back my row, and over here we have the row gap, which is basically the gap between each branch or each box of the timer components. So let me select start back to your 20. I'll be using 20 for this video. And next we have the background, which is basically the background of each box. Also, most of the changes we are making in these timer components reflect on the boxes in the timer components. See, once I select the background and I toggle off the opacity, you see that the background in each box disappears. So it basically reduces to 0% opacity. Let me simply push that back to 100%. And over here we have small border strokes that I created for each box. Then below it we have the stroke widths. Now we also have the border radius, which is the corners of each box. Then we have body, which is the internal spacing between the box and the contents inside of the box. Right now I'm using 20, or you can also increase that to your desired pattern. I will go back to using 20. Then we have the timer fonts. The timer fonts basically the fonts for the numbers, just the numbers. I'm using Orbitron as my timer font. You can simply select the drop down and switch to any other fonts that you wish to use. Here we have the font size. I'm using 80, but you can also edit the font size as you wish. It's responsive. Then we have the timer color, which is basically the color you're using for your timer text. Now, nextly, we have the label fonts, which is basically the font for the text below the numbers, the labels themselves. So this one is also very nice. This one is also very nice. You can select the fonts that you wish to use for the labels. You can also change the font size for each label. And you can also edit the color for each label. Then we also have the label spacing, which is basically the spacing between the label and the timer text. That's the number. As you can see, when I adjust this, there is a bit of padding increments between the label and the timer text. Then we have our separator. Basically, the separator is like a text. So I simply added a semicolon as the separator. Once I go to remove that, you see that the separator disappears. This simply means I can use anything as my separator. I can use any text, but I'm going to use the semicolon for my separator. Then we also have the separator font size, and I'm still going to use 80. Then we have the separator font style, the font style. You can use thin, regular, bold, semi-bold, whatever font style you want for your separator. Then we have the separator text, just like we did for the timer text and the label text. Then once all this is done, we have a text that appears once the timer hits 0. So at the end of the timer, if you have a specific text you want to preview, like for mine, I'm using a times up text. So once the timer hits 0, like I'm showing here, once the timer hits 0, you see a little times up text here, which you can make changes to, just like you did for the timer text and the label text. You can edit the font size, we can edit the font weight, the color, whatever it is you want to edit. But if you simply don't want this feature, has no problem. You can simply click to erase the timer text. You select it and you hit backspace to erase it. That way nothing previews once the timer is up. And that wraps up the full walkthrough of Temmora Hero Suite, the complete hero section starter kits. Inside this template, you'll find 2 Nav Bar variations, 6 unique hero section structures, a timer component, my adaptive image component for both light and dark mode, 6 background styles with light and dark variants, and layouts that look clean on both scenes. If you want to get this template at the time of posting this video, it's currently free for the next 48 hours on the Framer Marketplace, after which you'll be able to get it for just $25. Don't forget to hit the like, subscribe, or follow button so you can stay updated on the next template launch. Thank you once again for listening. Hope you have a great day.